Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning. I'm sorry to interrupt the conversation. It's nice to see a good crowd here and some folks on Zoom. Hey, Clark, what time is it where you are?
It is 5:02.
5:02. Clark's out in Oregon. He was on Zoom at 7:20 our time this morning, so do the math. Let's pause and have a word of prayer. Good and gracious Heavenly Father, we gather for this time of good food and fellowship. And we thank you for all of our blessings. We thank you for this church, for the academic year now upon us and to come. Be with all of those here in our families. Be with those in our community who are enduring sickness and other challenges. Pray you would bless this food to the use of our bodies and us to your service. We ask it in your name. Amen. All right, do we have any announcements this morning? Before we get to next week's speaker, I see that we have the new members table back here. So Butch, you have previously had your guest with us, but would you mind introducing him again, please?
This is John Lansing, a good friend of mine, but really a good friend of my sister's. He's my sister's next door neighbor, and they've been friends for a very, very long time.
Yes. We also have back here Roberto Castro, who is a new member of Trinity. He has been at men's breakfast twice, and so now he already knows what happens the next time he comes. And then there's another new member. Would you mind introducing yourself and tell us a little bit?
I'm John Beeler. We've been attending Trinity since January. We came from Atlanta West Side Pres, and happy to be here.
Great to have you. All right. Any other announcements? Bert, you want to tell us about next week?
We have an excellent speaker coming up next week, longtime Trinity member David Beasley. Most of you know David, I'm sure. He's out in the narthex most Sundays as the second most famous usher from Atlanta. David had a lengthy career in banking, and he has recently retired. He did assure me that he was not losing interest, but he reached the mandatory retirement age. I have suggested to David that he call his talk Banks for the Memories, but he has resisted.
Don't lose
Ed tells us that banks don't lose interest. I was wondering whether, in spite of the fact that David had not lost interest, he retired due to the principle of the matter, but thanks, Bert. I told you they wouldn't like that. All right, this morning our speaker is Jimmy Smith, and Jimmy and his wife Marianne joined Trinity this past Pentecost Sunday. And Jimmy, since the time that he joined, has been a regular attendee with us. He sits at the back table with the other good Presbyterians, even though he grew up Catholic, went to the Marist School, graduated from UNC, Phi Beta Kappa. He received an architectural degree from the Graduate School of Design at Harvard. embarked on a long and distinguished career in architecture, is retired and returned to Atlanta and found his way back here. Jimmy's going to share some of his experiences with us. And without anything further, we'll listen to Jimmy Smith.
Thanks, Tom. And, here I am standing up here wondering, how did I get here? And my God, what have I done? Following, I've only heard about 5 talks here. One was on the physics of flying and, fluid dynamics. The other one was neuroscience and cognitive memory and brain theory. The other one was on Bonhoeffer and the exegesis of of Dietrich Bonhoeffer. And then the Attorney General for the state of Georgia here spoke. So yeah, I like, how did I get here? And my God, what am I doing? It's kind of how I felt when I stepped out of the airport in Dubai and hit that 110-degree Dubai heat in March. Glasses steaming up, like, what have I got myself into? So let's, and I will apologize quickly because I will have to blow through these slides, not taking my own advice, which is don't have too many images, but I have. So my wife started a blog there. So this is a little advertisement for her, and you can go back and read it. So it's much better than anything I'm going to say. But interestingly, her first impression was exactly the same. As you can see up there, glasses fogging immediately as you step out into the air. This is I did grow up Catholic. 2 of the siblings are missing out of this photo, the oldest and the youngest boy. I never knew my oldest brother, so I was one of 8. And I never knew my oldest brother, but my youngest brother died a couple of years ago. So they're missing from that. And you can guess which one I am. I'm the one that my dad has the hand on, trying to keep me from, squirming there. So I was naturally always squirming and shaking my head and whatever, a little ADD. So this is my family now. This is my wife pulling together. I have 6 grandkids. You would think that I'm still Catholic. You're never not Catholic, by the way. It's like growing up Jewish or growing up Southern or whatever. You're stuck. It's you live with it. So 6 grandkids, 3 kids, all a little dysfunctional, but we all get along. And my wife tolerates, inherited all of that. She wasn't responsible for siring the kids. And there she is in our home. And why in the heck would I leave our nice home to come to move to Dubai? We were the second to the top floor, central bay there was our balcony and our view of the Burj Khalifa, and I'll show you a picture of that. So this is, again, my wife and I. We're in the Opera House, just was literally within walking distance of our home. So we went from a mountain house we went from being country mice to being city mice, right down in the center of downtown Dubai. That's a shot of the tallest building in the world from our balcony. Every night they would put on a slideshow or excuse me, a light show on the tower, so flashing up there. And this is kind of a step back. I'm doing a little, taking us back to how did I get there? I graduated in '82, and that's a picture of me on top of the pyramids in '81. So my first experience with the Middle East actually goes back to my graduate school days. My final thesis and I'll use that term loosely because it was a master's program. But the thesis was set. I spent a couple of weeks in Jerusalem, and we traveled to Egypt. So I spent about a month with my former wife, and we were fairly newly married. And it was an amazing project. And it kind of introduced me to a very different world. We love travel. My wife and I, present wife, Mary Ann, and I love travel. And traveling's in I always had traveled. And so we came back, started working for a small firm. This is the Perkins and Will office, which we grew into, but I was like the 12th man at this little firm, boutique firm. But we did some interesting work, including a chapel out at St. Ignatius House. My boss's, the founding partner's wife's backyard studio, which is up on the upper left. A lot of healthcare work down in Columbus, Georgia, and Dothan, Alabama. But over time, we grew very quickly and won awards and got some attention as a local firm, but we realized we'd outgrown ourselves. We were not able to compete with the larger firms coming in, taking the really wonderful projects that we wanted, like Northside and larger hospital facilities or campus facilities. And so we merged with Perkins and Will, and it opened up a lot of opportunities for us. We were able to do some interesting design projects, like you were just saying. That was a couple of those former projects were some that I did years ago. And then we merged also. We were part of a larger umbrella, which is Dar al-Handasar. Dar is the Arabic word for house. So Dar al-Handasar is House of Engineers. And they're kind of they were and still are, I think, the second largest engineering company in the world. So they have a number of firms, and we were one of them. So all of a sudden, we were a nice American firm, although we did have some work in Canada, became part of this larger consortium that brought us to the Middle East. And my first experience was working on a competition that we won, but we lost the project because this was in 2002, and I happened to be there. This was the young Joseph Hajir out of Lebanon. And this was at the time a kind of a eye-opening for me, because 2002 is when we were actually there when Bush got the Congress to approve going to war with Iraq, and so it was a interesting time. This is the only sketch you're going to see that I did, and I based it. I called it the design in my own. My inspiration for it was UVA, Jefferson's UVA campus, but it's on a very different scale. It's a huge project, but I called it UV Allah. So here I am dealing with some of the people, and I'm going to back up here for a second. The guy with the coffee cup there is you'll see another picture of him, Abdul Razak. I love that picture because he's the same color as the model that we're proposing. He was a delightful Saudi, and when he's out of Saudi Arabia, he doesn't wear his garb. There is a particular individual, and you'll on the lower, look for the guy. I'll have to just point him out. This guy here is Saud bin Laden. So the construction company we worked with was Bin Laden Construction. At the time was the largest construction company in the world. And there were some opportunities. One opportunity, he was a delightful guy, very calm, although he did have a muscle when it came down to, coming down hard on us, he would bring in his muscle and he would deliver the message in a stronger way. But Sheikh Saad bin Laden was, I had an opportunity to actually go to to the bin Laden compound, which was a very weird thing, and he would talk about how that was very, I mean, it was like being a Rockefeller and one of the Rockefellers went rogue. He was really didn't know his stepbrother. He had 40 stepbrothers. So interesting getting exposed to that. But later on that came to haunt me. So this was the camp project that we're working with, that I started working on. And these are projects, these are actually the campus. It was 8 medical colleges and a population of student population of up to 40,000 students. So it was a huge project that was done in a very short amount of time, really. And I also had an opportunity to ride around Damascus right after the Arab Spring. I was actually when the Arab Spring broke out, I was in Beirut when that happened. So that was also, I seemed to be at places at the wrong time, or at the right time, however you look at it. There was a lot of my friends thought that I worked for the CIA or something, because I was always there when something was coming down. This is Assad, and his pictures was all over the place there. And I was driving around in a car with his stepbrother, who was a doctor, and we were doing a cardiology suite. His father-in-law and his brother-in-law were doctors, and Assad's a doctor. He's an eye doctor. So that was an interesting, riding around in a vehicle with, at one point I said, "What's your brother like?" It was one of those sort of can't believe I'm here moment. But and then we continue with some expansion, and then this was a project that brought me to Erbil, and there's a misspelling there, Erbak. It's Erbil, which is in northern Iraq, which is also where the Kurdistanis are. So we met with the Prime Minister of Kurdistan, who was and this was an amazing project, 60,000. Never got built, because if you look at the dates up there, 2012 to 2014, I found myself within a 50-mile radius of ISIS as it was working its way down through Mosul. And they were moving it, that's closer than Athens, and they were moving through the area. And Erbil was the one, I don't know if you remember, in 2014, that's when ISIS started trying to attack Erbil. That's when Obama came in and sent missiles to kind of clear that out. So that was a kind of a testy time. But this shows you the campus. It was based on the Citadel, which was the original Erbil city. And they thought they claim it's the oldest continuously inhabited city in the world. So we took the design of the campus and modeled it on sort of the Citadel itself. So you have a wall of housing around it with the schools set within that campus, and taking the interesting thing about the Middle East is that people they love metaphors. They love metaphors for their design. So we took there was a castle there that's a medieval castle, and we made that the image for the student union, sort of a metaphor for it. And they had a famous minaret that had survived bombings and whatever, and we made that kind of a metaphor for the administrative tower. And then all of a sudden, I'm finding myself having been traveling back and forth for the better part of a decade plus, being asked to actually move and take and act as the design principal for the DAR office in Dubai. And Dubai, so here we are. I wouldn't have done it. I think I would not have done it, definitely, unless Marianne said, let's do it. Because I was hesitant, you disrupts. She was having the best 3 years of her real estate back to back to back. And on the drive to the airport, because I was going for a project there, and I just said, think about it. And she said, let's do it. And I said, Marianne, think about it. She said, let's do it. She'd never been over there. So she's a trooper. And there it says that, if you can read those weird kind of letters, My Dubai. And so there we are. And there are a lot of misnomers about Dubai. You don't have to wear hijabs. It's safer than Atlanta, safer than any place. There's no garbage. It is not a democracy. There are no old people except for me and a few others. And it's spotless. It's clean. They have a lot of people, in the wee hours cleaning up. So there's no, what I found interesting while I was there, and here's the airport. You can sleep there because it's a major hub. You fly to Dubai, and from Dubai, I did most of my work, design work, outside of Dubai. So I didn't do a lot of work in Dubai. I was flying from there to Erbil. I was flying there on some of the projects that we were working on. The other thing so a little bit about living in a place versus visiting a place. It's a lot more involved. To get your Emirate ID, it took months and months of getting attestations for my degrees, for all the requirements, so that I could get what's basically was an ID card, Emirate ID card. It took quite a lot of work. We had to go through the State Department, go through all these layers, attesting my degrees at Harvard, attesting my citizenship, whatever, and then you get approved. So they really do a screening process. Then also moving there. So it was a little bit like Shawshank Redemption. So I would go there for a meeting, and I would bring two big suitcases, whatever I could carry, and I would leave them in the offices, and then come back and bring some more stuff, and I'd bring some of Marianne's stuff. She came with me to visit. We used our BMW as a shipping container and brought it with us, and then brought it back home. So that's what's in the parking lot is our BMW. We were going to sell it before we left, and it was like, we're getting nothing for it. So we shipped it over there, and then they won't let you have a car that's more than 5 years old. So we brought it back with us, brought our stuff back with us. So Dubai makes a big deal about being, about happiness. And it's a remarkable place, but there is a little bit of the Stepford Wives quality to it that you can't really talk about while you're there. So if you read Marianne's blog, there's nothing negative in there. There's no such thing as free speech. She joined the Keller Williams real estate over there. She's now with Atlanta Fine Homes. But while she was there, she actually taught real estate. It's really hard to break into real estate there. You have to know somebody who knows somebody who kills people or whatever. So Dubai as a city is a very linear city. When Sheikh Mohammed, they call him Sheikh Mo, who is the benevolent leader there, dictator basically. But he's very easy if you don't disagree with him, So if people complain or whatever, you don't do that. But as long as you do what you're supposed to do, you're okay. But this is a line from Mary Ann's blog that about you drive down the main road, the Sheikh Zayed Road, and the towers and the buildings. It's just it's amazing. And then they have the tram lines are driverless. So we're sitting in the front. That's looking out the front of the tram line. So there's no driver there, and it goes for miles and miles. It's a very long stretch of a city. This shows you a little bit of the view. Again, that's a view on the right-hand side of the tower, Burj Khalifa. You can also go to a place called Global Village, which is sort of this crazy, it's like a cross between Disney World and Kmart shopping, or it has all the pavilions for all the parts of every place in the world. You have the pavilion for the United Arab Emirates, and there's which is UAE, which Dubai is part of, is extremely large pavilion. The pavilion for the Americas is about the size of this room for all of the Americas. So it gives you a very different. It's a little bit like going to Epcot Center, with a Indian kind of Bollywood kind of feel to it. So you can see in that photo where they glam together, smush together all the different buildings of the world. And so it's not just downtown. You've got other areas. This is that are trying to compete really with the center of downtown Dubai, where the Burj Khalifa is with the tallest building in the world, the largest exterior fountains in the world, that's surrounded by the largest mall in the world with a full-size aquarium, with the largest crocodile at the time in the world. It's a crazy place, That being said, sometimes you want the relief from that. So Al Seef, the Dubai, is actually where the old original town was built, the Dubai Creek, but they constructed, they rebuilt to look like it's the old town. So it's a little bit, again, this is a little bit like Epcot. It's a way to kind of feel like you're going back to your roots, but it's actually fabricated. This is all just constructed to look old and to look like you're going back. So it's a little Disneyland-y. One of Mary Ann's favorite places, however, was Satwa, which was really is originally old, and it has a feeling of like being in the Philippines or India. This is one of her favorite restaurants that we would go to. You just get good, it's like going up near Cambodia, to get some good Korean food or whatever. But it's very, very it's authentic. It's a place that we love to go to. And this is a restaurant near where I worked, where you have Des Pardes we realized, where do the Pakistanis get their good Pakistani food? And I noticed that this little dump had all the taxi cars lined up. Someone said, that's the place to go eat. So we go where the taxi cabs are.
The story behind that building being the tallest, that they sat out saying, we're going to build the tallest structure in the world, and who designed it, who built it?
Well, that's a good question, and let me just go to that. I'll just and from here, I'm going to blow through these. These are let me come to that in a second, in just a second. This is an interesting thing about MBS, which is he becomes the crown prince of Saudi Arabia. And that while he was there, that's when he shifted gears. So a lot of the work that we were working on just stopped cold. So with that, let me come to your question. And these are just some images of stuff that I did out there while I was there. So we'll just kind of move through these. Let me come to your question, and we'll just do Q&A now. Burj Khalifa, the tower was actually, yes, the answer is yes, they wanted to build the tallest building in the world. And they not only wanted to build the tallest building in the world, but they wanted to make sure that it would stay for a very long time the tallest building in the world. It is almost, it's shy of a kilometer. Saudi Arabia and the architect, the design it was done by SOM, which is Skidmore, Owens and Merrill. They're a prominent architectural firm. Started out of Chicago, and they've done and the architect that worked for them was Adrian Smith. Interesting story about Adrian Smith. SOM had it's an entity in the architectural world. It's like what would be a law firm that is like, you know, bigger than King and Spalding, whatever. They're probably the premier, just a kind of an institution as a firm. So when they built that, they wanted the biggest, tallest building in the world. Adrian Smith, the design for it, that is interesting, is a reason why it's not symmetrical. It kind of tears up. One, as an architect, I'll tell you this, because it looks good. So it had to be made to look good. But there's also a functional side to it. And because that tower, a symmetrical tower, would start to spiral with resonance. You know, I don't know if you've ever seen some of those videos where like a suspension bridge, if the wind resonates with the tower and it's not dampened, it will start to move. Or bridges, when you start dancing on it, that's why they have to dampen it. They put something to just make it keep it from becoming a stringed instrument and resonating. So that thing will start to spin if the wind hits it a certain way. So it's got wind breaks. The tower is it's breaking the wind from any particular angle, so it wouldn't resonate like that. Adrian Smith was at 65, had to retire. He said, okay. So he ended up he just started his own firm, and he's the guy you want. So he brought with him a lot of people. So it just like, you know, that's the hubris of a corporate firm getting a little too caught up in its own sort of machinations. They wanted the largest fountains in the world. They wanted in front of the tower, and those are the same fountains at Bellagio. So, and they wanted the biggest mall in the world. And and there are competing malls in Dubai. There's a mall nearby, down the way, where you can go ski. So there's a picture of us. I remember Marianne had posted one day on Facebook a picture of us skiing, and it was timed, 11 o'clock in the morning by the time, and then by 1 o'clock we're back sitting by our pool having, so same day, here we are in our ski stuff and, sitting by the pool in our bathing suits. So it's also a tax-free zone. So Dubai started out at Dubai Creek is a port, a port for if you're on Iranian side, it's the Persian Gulf. If you're on the Saudi side, it's the Arabian Gulf. It's on the Gulf, and at the juncture of it is the Strait of Hormuz. So you've got all these shipping containers. It's a huge distribution center. So Dubai, back in, I'd say a little over 100 years ago, it started being tax-free. Whereas Tehran, on the other side, or the port near Tehran, was, you know, taxing people. So they basically ran Tehran out of business. So it started off as a port. I mean, before that, it was pearl diving, and they couldn't sustain that over time. So, and then Sheikh Mo decided we need to push tourism, and that's what really began to change it. So they offer, for instance, our Perkins and Will, our corporate headquarters, we actually moved it technically, legally, to Dubai because it's tax-free. So, you know, and there's, for instance, when I worked there was no income tax. So I was able to take advantage of $120,000 of my salary was tax-free while I was there, which was a nice little coup. I mean, and now it's gone up a little bit. So they're drawing, it becomes a draw for the Middle East. We would see people flying in from Saudi Air, and the women coming in from Saudi Air would be stripping off their hijabs once they cleared airspace. You could order, you know, when I would be flying Air Emirates out of Saudi Arabia, they would say, what would you like when you clear airspace? And and what do you mean? What kind of drink would you like? So, you know, it's alcohol, you know, it's their Las Vegas, it's their Disney World, it's where the Muslim world can come and get a break from some of the more restricted parts. Yeah.
It's oil money that builds the building, and it's oil money that enable the tax-free status. They don't need revenue from the people. It comes from oil. Correct? Is that correct?
Not as correct as you think. There's more oil. There was more oil with Abu Dhabi, and is one of the Emirates. You have United Arab Emirates, and there are seven Emirates, but the only two that really are significant are, and the only two leaders there that are significant are Sheikh Mohammed in Dubai and Sheikh Zayed in Abu Dhabi. So the two, it's almost like it's like an old Italian city-states, you know, nation states. So each of those two main cities are also their own centers. They don't have that as much oil as you think. It's not like Saudi Arabia.
So that what pays for all the construction and the tax-free this and the tax-free that?
They have there is it's not sustainable. In other words, they had oil, and they had, you know, I mean, Abu Dhabi definitely had more oil than Dubai. Dubai had, I mean, there's some money for that out of the oil. So I guess but also the industry it was a shipping center. So there's a lot, I mean, there's a lot of revenue generated from that. But it's not hugely oil heavy. And they realized that they didn't have enough they didn't have enough oil to sustain them over time. The pearl diving went bust when you started making, you know, the Depression, I think, killed that. So they realized they've got to shift gears and become a center
Of trade.
Yeah.
Like Venice, a trade center.
Trade center.
Right. So then one other question. What is Sheikh Mo's goal to have the biggest this and the biggest? What is his dream? Why is he doing all this?
Because it worked. People go there.
To bring people there.
Yeah. It's also, here's another thought about this. Money is easy there. I saw 13 or 14 cranes all over from our balcony, our little balcony, all around us. There were so many buildings going up around that. And they were pretty much empty at night, including the Burj Khalifa. I didn't see a lot of lights. So I think a lot of that's, I called them steel and glass mattresses. I think it's an easy place to launder money. You got to look at all the towers in New York City, all those pencil towers. That's just a second round of laundering, my opinion. I mean, if you have money and you're in Russia, India, when you look at the largest cities in the world and where demographically, very few of them now are the really top big ones are in the US anymore. They're all in China, they're in India. You look at big money in India, Pakistan, huge money. All these oligarchs, Russia, China, they need to get the money out of there. So where are they going to put it? This is easy, not a lot of questions asked about, so it's kind of replaced what Switzerland was, I mean, still is, but it's a place to launder money.
To launder money.
That's my thought.
Was language a problem and culturally were you accepted or were there certain barriers that you couldn't cross while you're in the
That's a really that's a good question. And at least a couple things. I'm glad you asked that. I was hoping something like that would come up. Everyone speaks English. If you noticed the sign, the Happiness Center, all the street signs are in English and Arabic. So those are the two universal languages. But it's the Emirates, the Emiratis, the local population, they only make up 10% of the population. The rest, the workers, and I was a worker, but they wanted a gray-haired, blue-eyed person. I didn't have the hair, but I was old enough to give some dignity to that. So it's not a problem. Not a lot of Americans, a lot of British people, Europeans, Germans. There weren't that many Americans. I think that around here, when I would tell people I'm going to Dubai, it was, why would you go there? And yet, okay, I hope this doesn't sound wrong, but there were a lot, when I saw tourists, there were a lot of African Americans. They really cottoned to it. And they sounds wrong, but there was something about, there's a strong Muslim tradition in African Americans. So they're open to that. And the place is very open, very safe. You would go to the beaches and there would be a burkina, woman in all, covered up. And then right next to her would be someone in a string bikini, So you have you go to the Burj Al Arab, you go in the lobby and you'd see the Emiratis with their white wearing, their stuff. And you didn't really talk to them, but often they had arm in arm on them would be a beautiful, probably Russian woman and fairly scantily clad, doing whatever. It's a very different kind of world, yeah.
And a Russian presence too, right?
Very strong Russian presence. Lots of Russian prostitutes, we imagine. Yes.
Jimmy, this is Paul Marston.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Paul.
What I hear is that in Dubai, they worship money. I mean, I hear that loud and clear. And here you are, a good Christian man, and I don't know if you're Catholic or Presbyterian, but whatever. You're a good Christian man. And so when you live in that kind of environment, what are your thoughts? I mean, do you go to church? How do you handle all that?
Well, you know, it's interesting you say that because I found it to be a very spiritual place too. I mean, it's not, okay, Dubai is not a monolithic place any more than Atlanta is, any more than any place. I mean, you learn that when you travel. Travel is what opens your eyes. I mean, one of the lessons I really learned is it's from the Little Prince, where there's when you go to a place that's so different than where you live, and we would come back and stay in the mountains when I'd come back here, our mountain house with fog and dense fog and green. You'd come back from being out in the desert like that, and it'd be like, oh my God. And there's a line in the Little Prince, which is, you have to go away from where you live and come back and recognize where you are. There was a story about the waterfall. They were watching the waterfall, people that came from the desert. And the tour guide said, well, it's time to leave. And he said, no, the people said, no, we're going to wait till it finishes. And it doesn't finish. And so when they came back home to the desert, they saw the desert. And that's kind of the way I feel having been there. But they're tolerant, much more tolerant than people here, to be honest, you know?
Are there Christian churches?
Yes. The Pope came while I was there, the former Pope. Pope Francis, it was a huge, huge thing. Yes. My Muslim partner out of Egypt, is the finest man I've known. Just praying 5 times a day, and he would do that. And he was a good businessman. He was, you know, a taskmaster, but in a way that was not, you know, intimidating, but you wanted to work with. He was like a father figure.
You seem to be saying there's a lot of spirituality in the Muslim community. Did you admire that? How did you feel about that? Here in America, there's an attitude anti-Muslim in many places. How do you see that? And secondly, what about freedom of speech?
Freedom of speech is okay. Dubai is not a democracy. The one thing that you know, when I was there, the early Trump administration, there would be some strange stuff going on, and they would like, what happened today? You know, they're very aware of what's going on in the rest of the world. Most of them, the people all the people I was working with they got their degrees either here in the States or at Oxford. The doctors were, you know, they know America. Sheikh Saad bin Laden got a degree in Arizona in architecture here. His kids loved coming here. One of his biggest regrets about what happened with 9/11, personally, was the insult to his name, and mostly. And secondly, I can't ever come to America. They love Americans. They don't necessarily like the American politics. But the one thing that was not an issue for them was, you know, what's this thing about democracy? We get shit done here, excuse my French. We just do things. We don't have to go through channels and stuff like this. So, a system of just being able to plow through and get stuff done was appealing to them. To you know, but to your point about, yeah, I admire devout people whether they're Hindu. I mean, when we went to India, it was interesting going to India, or the Buddhists. So I think, okay, Mother Teresa said something. She said, if we worry about helping someone get up to the, the right way to get up to the top of the mountain, we're not going to get there ourselves. There are a lot of ways to the top of the mountain.
Did you find in the Muslims common virtues, what we would refer to as Christians as virtues?
Yeah, the Quran is based on, well, Sheikh Saad, he had a little thing that I forget what it was, but it had Abraham. It was a little wooden thing that had the name Abraham on it. And there was another one that had the name Jesus on it. Another one that had the name Muhammad on it. Because they said Jesus was a great prophet. Muhammad, the father of Islam, Abraham, Ishmael was the founded Islam in the Quran. So the Quran is based very largely on the Old Testament, just like we're a Judeo-Christian society. They embrace the teachings of Jesus. They don't believe that he's the Son of God. They don't believe that he died, they believe he died, but they don't believe he rose from the dead. So that being said, there's, and violence is not endorsed at all. I mean, technically, not, but there are factions. And we have our own sordid history going back. I mean, we've not been living always according to the golden rule or according to Christianity. That being said, there was also decadence and craziness and all of that too. So it's a weird dichotomy of all of it.
You want to tell us a little more about the decadence?
Oh, I will say, and there's some weird stories. I mean, for instance, the bathroom where I worked, we had a construction department, so you didn't have as many a lot of white collar people. I worked with the white collar group, but there was a lot of blue collar, and so during Ramadan, Ramadan is a period, 1 month where you have to fast, and you can't eat from sunrise to sunset, no water, nothing. And you're in 120-degree heat in the summer, and Ramadan, it's a long sunset and sunrise, that's a long period. So when you're there, you would be respectful of that. So we could eat, and they would actually put up in the malls curtains so that the non-Muslims could eat. Or you go to the grocery store, and they had the section for the non-Muslims could not go into, where you could get every kind of pork known to man. I mean, it was you had no problems if you wanted anything with pork products. And there's so many things that have pork in them that you don't realize. So that would be not allowed, or alcohol. You could all the hotels, not a problem. I got a liquor license while I was there so that I could, go to the speakeasy, and if people came to visit, you could get a drink. So I don't know. It's a very bizarre kind of world, It was an interesting experience living there.
Anything else? John, grab a mic.
Do they have, is it Sharia law?
Sharia.
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 Is that their law?
That's you have, it gets complicated. There's nothing simple about what's going on over there. You have the Shiites, Shias, and that's what was going on with, that's why you have Iran or mainly Shia, southern Baghdad is Shia. The Sunnis are the predominant Muslims religion. The Sunnis, Shia law developed over time. Sharia law developed over time, sort of like, I guess, some of the laws in Judaism, where Leviticus and whatever that come up over, later, the later books in the. So yes, and that's where you're allowed to have 4 wives. The very, so it's a very legal system. The Shiites don't adhere to Sharia law. I mean, they adhere to some of the laws there, but not through Sharia law. So yeah, it's an interesting twist. And actually Dubai actually adheres to Sharia law for Muslims while you're there. Not that all Muslims, okay, we all know Baptists that drink. We all know Catholics have fewer kids than they did than my mom and dad. There's a reason that so Catholics practice birth control. Oops, did I say that? Did, Baptists drink? Oops. Muslims are no different. Some of them, but some are very orthodox. Some are very strict. So,
Jimmy, this is very interesting. Thank you very much. Good to have you.
Thank you. I do want to say thank y'all for being so welcoming, and so I really appreciate being here.
Good to see you, Jimmy.
Really interesting.
Great to see you.
Thank you. It's so good to see you.